Yo, 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 what it do? What it be, y'all? It's your boy, A-N-T, repping the game. Gang, you know we don't play none of that. If you's a lame, you can't hang. All of that, bang, bang. And I'm back with my last top 5 list for the decades, or at least for complete decades. And we got the top 5 centers of the 2010s today. And if you new here, go ahead and subscribe, because next video I got the top 10 greatest centers of all time. So stay tuned for all the hot content that I got dropping soon. If you like this list, go ahead and leave a like. And if you disagree with my list, maybe leave a comment on who you would have over who and all of that. I'm all up for debates if I got the time. You feel me? But with all due respect, the 2010s might be the weakest era of centers that I've covered in terms of accolades, and it's not even close. With that being said, I will say that it has been one of, if not the harder lists to put together, because there's not a whole lot of this player or this center was the dominant or main option on a championship team, or on a dynasty. No, the LeBron's teams that were making it during the 2010s didn't really have dominant centers on them. Same thing with the Warriors dynasty that was dominating in the 2010s as well. They didn't have a dominant center at any particular time that I could think of. And so, yeah, there wasn't the lack of accolades certainly didn't help with the list, but a lot of people were alive to see this era of basketball, so that helps. And then we do have more film and a lot, again, the stats and all that. But again, not one center on this list was a top MVP candidate or was a main option for a championship team. But in this era, we did see centers expand their range in terms of shooting and maybe even defense too. We saw centers guard smaller players and start switching off a little bit. But in terms of offense, we saw centers start, shooting more threes, start, shooting more jump shots, be a little bit more consistent free throw shooters. And overall, that has made a great impact on the game. However, maybe not. We haven't seen it make really championship impacts. However, we seen a little bit of that change in the 2020s, but again, we'll get to that later. And I haven't really got any honorable mentions for this list. If I had to put one honorable mention, it would be DeAndre Jordan. He was a really good scorer when he had Chris Paul on his team. He was a really good rebounder. Top 3 in DPOY voting in 2013 and 2014. He was getting defensive first teams for a couple years. But without Chris Paul, he wasn't really the same scorer. He was an effective rim protector throughout his career. I will give him that. But again, compared to some of these other guys, I would say he just barely didn't make the list, especially because at number 5, I got Marc Gasol, who, again, I was talking about those bigs who expanded their range, and Marc Gasol didn't necessarily have an outside jumper or a midi throughout his career, but he worked on it, and he was actually had a decent one by the end of his career. He was never really a good defender, wasn't that good at rebounding either, especially even compared to DeAndre Jordan, but he was by far a better scorer than DeAndre Jordan. He actually played some decent defense to help the Raptors win their first ring in 2019. And actually, his outside shooting kind of helped them as well, for keeping it a buck. And yeah, Mark was primarily an offensive threat. Like I said, his rebounding was subpar, especially compared to the number 4 guy, which is Andre Drummond. Drummond statistically is the best rebounder on the list. I mean, almost 14 boards and 14 points. Only one less point than Gasol, but almost doubled his rebounds. So he got the edge on him for the number 4 spot. And if he would have just been a slightly better scorer, just, developed an outside midi, something like that, he could be a little bit higher. But Brook Lopez, Again, I can't make an argument for his rebound. I think he averaged like 6, 7 rebounds throughout his whole career, but his scoring, and I'm not like a scoring merchant, but he averaging 20 points in the 2010s. And I was really torn about putting him like this high on the list, even though Drummond doubled his rebounds, and I mean, Brook was only averaging about, I think 4 to 6 more points. I mean, he was just as good at protecting the rim as Drummond, though. I barely have Brook Lopez over Drummond, but I give Brook more credit. I think he's still the leading scorer in the Nets history. He was really putting up buckets just quietly. I mean, them Nets teams was never going anywhere, but Brook Lopez was putting in work, and again, was not the rebound guy. I think that's kind of why I think KG was there when Brook was there, the bones of KG. But again, like I said, he's the only center on this list who averaged 20 points, and I was really torn about him and Drummond because I do value Drummond's rebounding and in his defense, but I think Brook was like I said, just as good as a rim protector. He just wasn't really the face up guy you wanted. But I think it's a clear difference between him and the number 2 guy who I got, which is Dwight Howard, who was the reigning DPOY coming into the decade, and he was even getting MVP votes. But after he left Orlando and then joined the Lakers the first time, up in 2012, he still led the league in rebounding, and he was averaging the second most rebounds in the decade. But after Orlando, those DPOYs and those MVP votes, they stopped. They just disappeared. No. Even in LA, in a bigger market, wasn't getting those votes. He had kind of like a stain on his name a little bit. He don't really get the flowers, but he was consistent at scoring and rebounding, along with being a more than serviceable defender, elite rim protector. He has the second most blocks behind DeAndre Jordan, while being third in average blocks per game behind Rudy Gobert and flash in the pan Hassan Whiteside. So despite Dwight not really getting the flowers he deserves for his dominance in the 2000s and 2010s, he did end up with the ring to end the 2010s. And I mean, it was his second stint with the Lakers. And like Marc Gasol, he wasn't his prime self. And he was asked to really do what any aging center was asked. Just play really good defense, rebound, and score inside for easy points. And in Marc Gasol's case, maybe potentially score a wide open 3 or a wide open midi sometimes. But yeah, Dwight was even in his in the latter end of his career, he was still a serviceable. He was getting minutes as a good defender in this era. And I've seen videos making the case for Dwight Howard being the best center in the 2010s. And I'm not subscribing to that. Even though there is a decent argument, I'll hear it for Dwight being the best. But in my opinion, DeMarcus, a.k.a. Boogie Cousins, is by far the best center throughout the 2010s. He matched Dwight with 4 All-Stars, never got any DPOY or MVP votes. There might be some political reasons for that. Boogie didn't really have the best reputation around the league. But his 21 points, almost 11 rebounds, almost 1.5 blocks per game in the decade show that not only was he the best scoring big man of the era, he was an elite defender too. While Boogie never won a ring and injuries kind of ruined him and Anthony Davis's chance at winning a ring in New Orleans, it would be criminal, absolutely criminal for me to ignore DeMarcus Cousins' impact for this decade. Just keep it real. But we got a little bit of more time left, so let's go ahead. I think for the 2020s, if I had to make an early list as to who would be a top 5 candidate, of course I'm going to put Joker. Gobert is up there. Joel Embiid. Those 3 are definitely up there. Wemby, by the end of it, if he can stay healthy, will probably be on that list. We have a lot of young guys too that are up and coming, like Chet. Whether you consider him a center or not, you could put him up there. Zach Edey, when he's healthy. Again, some of these guys got to stay healthy, but even Triple J kind of plays center when Zach Edey hurt sometimes. Like there's some talented centers. I don't know. Maybe Domantas Sabonis might be a little bit of a stretch. I'd have to really look. I'd have to go back and really look at the numbers. But those first three I mentioned, Jokic, Gobert, Embiid, those guys are all going to be selections for top 5 in the decade for sure. Maybe even all time. But if y'all want to see my all-time rankings, y'all are going to have to stay tuned for my next video. It's dropping real soon. So go ahead and subscribe. If you like this list, go ahead and leave a like. If you disliked it, maybe dislike it. Leave a comment on how, you would have ranked your list in the 2010s. I'm all ears. I might have the time to maybe debate or something. But again, y'all be safe. Don't get smoked. This been your boy, ANT. Shout out the GGN, the Game Gang Nation. I'm out. Peace.